Sorry guys, an unexpected error happened to me. So that's why again I'm starting with the another video lecture. Just it is a continuation of a old lecture only. Don't bother about. Let me continue the flow, guys. So here we are discussing a prepaid expense journal entry, right? So prepaid expenditure is an asset. Why? Because which is not related to current year expenditure, which was paid before the before the period itself. So the real enjoying period was the next year, but we paid in the year itself. So for the current period, the amount excessively we paid for the next year is treated as an asset, which is not related to the current year, right? So that's why you have to decrease the expenditure, you have to increase the asset. Now all of you please participate. At the time of making payment, entry was insurance expense to bank. After that, at the time of creation of prepaid expense, as on 31st March, we are creating prepaid expense as at the end of the year, which was 31st March 2022. The entry was, which was as on 1/11/2021 actually. At the time of making payment, this is at the time of making prepaid, at the time of making creating prepaid expense. Entry was prepaid insurance account debtor. Increase in asset should be debited na. So prepaid insurance account debtor. How much? 7,000. Decrease in expense, you have to decrease the current year expenditure. Why? Because out of 12,000 the real expenditure was only 5,000. So decrease the expense, which was to insurance. So entry prepaid expense to expense. So please check here in the material. Prepaid expenditure account debtor to expense is the journal entry, which is expenditure to outstanding. Prepaid expenditure to expense is the journal entry. So don't by heart any the journal entry. How it is coming, just if you can able to understand and apply the accounting equation, can easily appreciate it, guys. Next, the next concept is income receivable and income received in advance. Please all of you concentrate. Only 15 minutes is balance to complete this lecture. So hopefully I will try to complete the basics with this 15 to 20 minutes lecture. Please all of you concentrate. Don't lose your concentration, guys. So two more important concepts are there: income receivable and income received in advance in accrual. After that, we can easily complete the remaining concepts in the gap. Coming to income receivable. So the concept is income receivable. So like outstanding expense, the expenditure was occurred, you not yet paid. Like that, income receivable is nothing but income accrued. Income accrued. That means income occurred. Accrued is nothing but occurred. Income accrued, but not received yet. Not received yet. I will give one example, guys. Please concentrate. Sir, I am an advertising agent, or I can put like this. I am a sales commission agent. I'm a sales commission agent. Sales commission agent. So sales commission agent is nothing but he will sell certain goods. So based upon the sales, he will get commission, right? So in generally, after completion of the sales, you should get the sales commission. After completion of the sales, you should get the sales commission. Sales commission is an income, no doubt about it, which is an income to him. So as on 31st March, let us assume as on 31st March, he already provided certain sales, but on such sales, he not yet received the sales commission. Then at that point of time, such a sales commission, he should be receivable position. It was in receivable position. Why? Because he already provided the sales. On such sales, he have to receive the sales commission, but not yet received, right? So sales commission to be receivable. So as on 31st March, the status is sales commission receivable is there. Sales commission receivable is there. Now, sir, as per the accrual concept, let us assume the amount was how much, sir? Let us assume the amount was that sales commission was 10,000. Let us assume 10,000 is the sales commission. Okay. How much it is? 10,000. So definitely it should be considered as a revenue. Why? Because which was occurred in the month of March. So one thing is sure, the sales commission is an income. Income should be increased. Sir, sales commission receivable. Sales commission receivable is an asset. What is the meaning of asset? Sir, asset is a resource from which you can generate the future economic benefits. Yes, you are receiving certain amount in the future. So that's why definitely for the current year, which can be treated as an asset, there is increase in asset as well. Now apply the accounting equation, all of you. Increase in asset should be debited. That is, sales commission receivable should be debited. I'm writing like this: income receivable. That is sales commission receivable account debtor. Sales commission receivable account debtor. Increase in income should be created, which is nothing but sales commission to income account. So entry is income receivable account debtor to income account. Let me check here. Income receivable account debtor to income account is the journal entry for income receivable. So the last concept is income received in advance. Please all of you apply the accounting equation, which is highly useful while drafting the journal entries. So next, income received in advance. You know, guys, the name itself contains income received in advance, means which is not related to current year income, but already received. Income received in advance is nothing but not related to current year income, not related to current year income, but received in advance, not related to current year income, but received in advance. One thing, can you please tell me, sir, if it is not an income for the current year, if you received something from the other party, which is liability only. Sir, if you are taking loan from the other party, which is a liability only, not related to the current year income, means you are taking like a liability only. You are taking like a loan only. So that's why income received in advance is a liability, guys. That's why which is a liability. Concentrate, all of you. I'll give an example for better understanding of the journal entry. Then you can pass the journal entry. Okay. The same sales commission, the sales commission example, as on 31st March, let us assume as on 31st March 2022, or I can put before the date itself, why not? Okay. As on 1st Feb, I can put like this: as on 1st Feb, I received the sales commission of rupees 18,000. I received the sales commission as on 1st February itself, 18,000 sales commission. So just the other person gave commission of 18,000. But as on 31st March, I know that only out of 18,000, 10,000 only related to the current year. Why? Because up to 31st March, I will make so many sales, right? On such sales, I will get the entire commission. So as on 31st March, the status is out of such 18,000, only 10,000 is related to the current year. So that means out of 18,000, 10,000 is related to the current year and 8,000 is related to the next year, which is received in advance only. So which is related to current year, which is related to the actually next year. So now concentrate here. I'm going to pass two different journal entries. That is journal entry 1 as on 1st February. As on 1st February, what is the journal entry, sir? First, I am receiving the commission, right? So I'll write the entry cash or bank account data. I am receiving the bank. Increase in asset should be debited. That's why bank account data or cash account data. How much I received? 18,000 I received straight away. At that point of time, I assumed that which is my entire sales commission, which is my income. Just I assumed which is my income. So that's why credited to sales commission income. But later, as on 31st March, I realized that entire sales commission is not an income. Out of that 8,000 related to the next year. That's why I want to decrease the income. Sir, decrease in income should be debited. Increase in income should be created, but decrease in income should be debited. So the entry is sales commission. That is income account debtor. Income account debtor. How much should be debited? 8,000. To sir, that 8,000 is received in advance, which is a liability. I already told you received in advance is a liability. If there is increase in liability, it should be created. So that's why entry to sales commission received in advance. To sales commission received in advance. Amount how much? 8,000, guys. This is the journal entry. So the entry is income account data to income received in advance. Let me check. Income account data to income received in advance. So simple. Whether we can by heart these journal entries? No, don't by heart any journal entry. It's a simple imagination of the things. Outstanding expenditure, which is nothing but payable expenditure, right? So which is current year expenditure only. Increase in expenditure should be debited, increase in liability should be created. Outstanding expense over. Prepaid expenditure is an asset. Increase in asset should be debited. So the current year expenditure should be reduced. Decrease in expenditure should be credited. Over. Income receivable is an asset. Income is a income. Sir, income receivable is an asset means increase in asset should be debited. Increase in income should be created. Income received in advance is a liability, but the current year income should be decreased first. Why? Because only current year accrued only the very less amount. So the entire amount received earlier is not related to the current year, which related to the next year would be treated as income received in the advance. So that's why current year income should be decreased by debiting income account debtor to income received in advance account treated as a liability. Over. Sir, still we are in the gap. We are in the discussion of gap only. That is common set of accepted accounting principles. We are discussing. I completed up to the accrual concept. Very few concepts are there. Historical cost concept, matching concept, conservatism principle, materiality. Please all of you concentrate, guys. Last few minutes of the class. Few minutes means you can assume like 10 to 15 minutes, guys. You can assume like 10 to 15 minutes. Please concentrate. So the next concept is historical cost concept. I already explained the meaning of historical cost concept. Historical cost concept is nothing but in accounting books, at which value we should adopt it to the fixed assets like building, land, machinery, plant, equipment. At which value these are purchased. At which value these are purchased. At which value these are acquired historically. With the same value we have to carry forward in the financials. Sir, if there is any increase in the value, we can make a revaluation. We can make it a revaluation. That is different issue. We will going to discuss such issues in the respective accounting standards. So, but the time being, for the time being, I'm telling you, historical cost concept is nothing but the word itself contains historical cost, acquired price. You should adopt the acquired price. With the same price only, you can continue in the books of accounts. Sir, if depreciation is there, what I can do? You can reduce that and all. Here I am not mentioning at which value you have to adopt initially at the historical price. At later on time period, also after reducing the depreciation, you should continue with the historical cost unless there is a proper revaluation made. Okay, that is nothing but simple historical cost concept. That is, you should not adopt the realizable value method. Like if going concern assumption is inappropriate, then you can record the assets and liabilities at realizable values. Now, you should not adopt the realizable value method. In generally, if going concern assumption is appropriate, he is telling indirectly. Okay, coming to the matching concept, I will discuss the matching concept in my OneNote. Concentrate. Sir, what is the meaning of matching concept? Which is important, guys. Please concentrate. Matching concept. So the word itself contains matching. You should match. You should match which things? You should match the relevant revenue with relevant expenses. Relevant expenses. Relevant revenue. You should match relevant revenue with relevant expense. Sir, can you give one example, sir? I'll give an example. Please concentrate here. What is it? What it is? One second. Just a second, guys. Right. Sir, if you assume it is a P&L, so if you assume which is a P&L, one second, guys. OneNote is not working. Just a moment, please. So right, if you assume which is a P&L, which is a P&L. So I don't want to differentiate trading and P&L. P&L includes trading account. Let us assume here sales I drafted. Here sales I drafted 1 lakh. So the sales commission to the sales agent in generally provided a 5% on the sales. Let us assume 5% on the sales. Then sales commission should be treated as an expenditure. Should be treated as an expenditure. 1 lakh into 5%, which is nothing but 5,000. Now, please all of you concentrate. Matching concept is nothing but you should match relevant revenue. This revenue was generated only due to this relevant expense. If this expenditure is not there, you cannot generate this revenue, right? Sir, what are all the different expenses you incurred to generate this revenue? You should record it in the books of account. You should not miss out any expenditure which is caused to generate this revenue. That is nothing but matching concept. Simply speaking, you should match all the relevant expenses to generate a particular relevant revenue. Sir, to generate this sales, if you incur sales commission, record it as an expense. Sir, to complete that sale, if you purchase certain goods, let us assume purchases are there. Let us assume purchases are there. Sir, purchases 80,000 worth of goods were purchased. You should treat it as an expenditure, which is nothing but matching concept. That is the reason why you are providing depreciation is an expenditure in books of accounts. Even though due to depreciation, there is no cash outlay. So depreciation is nothing but decrease in the value of the asset, right? You are using that particular asset for the purpose of generating the revenue. You are using the machinery for the purpose of production of the goods. You are using the building for the purpose of conducting your business activities. So that means you are generating certain revenues by utilizing such assets. So you generated revenue means for the purpose of generation of such assets, what are all the relevant expenditure cost? All such expenses you should be recorded in the books of accounts. That's why depreciation should be recorded into the books of accounts based on matching concept. Matching concept. Hope you understand what exactly the meaning of matching concept, guys. Next, conservatism principle. So another example, another important concept is conservatism. Please let me allow to discuss the conservatism principle. Conservatism principle. Consider it, guys. So what is the meaning of conservatism principle? Conservatism means, the dictionary meaning of conservatism is nothing but, just here I'm telling the dictionary meaning first. Conservatism is nothing but cautious. Sir, what is the meaning of cautious? Cautious means you should be a little bit cautious at the time of doing that work. A precautionary step, you can term it as a precaution. Am I right? So with more importance, you have to conduct that work. You should be a little bit cautious. The pros and cons you should clearly understand before doing that work. That is nothing but cautious. Am I right? Sir, I should be a little bit cautious at the time of estimating the probable losses in the future. Probable losses in the future. Sir, in future, if there is a chance, probable means more chance. In future, if there is a more chance to occur a loss in the particular situation, in a particular transaction, you should record right now in the books of accounts. You should record now, not in future. Sir, but earlier you told, as per the accrual concept, when it is accrued, then only you should record now. But right now you are violating the accrual concept. Yes, for the purpose of conservatism concept, you can violate the accrual concept. If another concept already exists, how can you treat it as a violation? Already conservatism principle is telling us, in future, if there is a probable losses are there, sir, going to occur such losses, more probability is there, more chance is there. You can record such a losses right now into your books of accounts, now into your books in the form of provisions, etc. I'm going to discuss what is the meaning of provision and reserve also in my next discussion. Please all of you concentrate for the time being. So all the probable losses in the future which are going to occur should be recorded right now in the books of accounts as per the conservatism principle. Sir, you are telling about the losses, then what about gains? Sir, in future, if there are any gains, if there is a probability, can I record? No. Why? Because due to recognition of the gains, unnecessarily you are increasing your profit. Sir, without you are having any profit, how you can increase the profit? Sir, again you can ask a question, without having a loss in the current year, then how you can decrease the current year profit, or how you can record the current year as a loss? So that is nothing but conservatism. You should act as a conservative. You should be cautious only at the time of occurring the losses. If there is a chance of occurring the gain, it should be ignored. Gain should be recorded into the books of accounts only when it is occurred. Again, accrual concept, same. As per the accrual, when you should record the gains, only if it is occurred. So simply conservatism principle simply telling that anticipate. You can anticipate all probable future losses. Anticipate all future probable losses and record in the books of accounts. But if it is gain, you can ignore for the time being. But if it is future probable gains, you can ignore. So gains can be recorded only when it is occurred. So that is nothing but conservatism principle, guys. Sir, that means in the current year, even though if you are not really having any loss, but in future, if there is a probability to occurring a particular loss, then can we record right now? Yes, absolutely. What I am telling, the same thing. So that's why no need to incur the current year loss to record a particular provision in the current year. If there is a probability to occur in the future, then you should definitely record. I can give a beautiful example here. Please consider all of you. Sir, you sold certain goods, right? Let us assume there two parties are there, X and Y. Okay, X sold certain goods to Y. So for X, which are sales, right? I'm talking in point of view of X. X is a seller. So sales how much, sir? And 1 lakh. Now, as on the balance sheet date, as on 31st March, X, which can be read as a credit sale. One more thing, one more point I'm adding. As on 31st March, X is checking about collection of amount of that 1 lakh from Y. So in Y godown, one fire accident was occurred. One fire accident was occurred. In Y godown, one fire accident was occurred. Entire goods was lost by Y. So then, based on the situation of Y, I can assume that, sir, there is no guarantee to recover such a sale amount from Y. There may be a chance of occurring loss. There may be a high chance of occurring loss, which is nothing but probable loss. Then I can create provision for bad debt, right? Provision for bad debt. Sir, why not told I'm not giving the money? He not yet given his statement. But based on the situation of Y, I can imagine that that amount may not be recoverable by me, which is nothing but provision for bad debt, which should be recorded in the books of accounts. With which concepts, sir? Only due to conservatism principle only. Why you are recording the provision for bad debts? Sir, bad debt is different story. Bad debt means the other party already told that I cannot give money to you. I cannot give money to you. Then you can treat it as a bad debt. Bad debt is a real expenditure which was already accrued. But coming to provision for bad debt, which was not occurred in the current year, such bad debt is going to occur in the next year. Based on the principle of conservatism, you are going to record in the books of accounts right now itself. Am I right? Okay. Go back, guys. And the last principle was materiality. Materiality. Sir, what is the meaning of materiality? How the materiality is formed part of GAAP? Let us see. Materiality. Materiality. Sir, materiality means, actually, again, I am telling you the dictionary meaning of materiality is nothing but important. Important. Material means important. Sir, why this concept should be taken into consideration at the time of presentation of financials? Is it important itself is a concept? Yes. Consider it, guys. Materiality concept should be taken into consideration at the time of drafting the financials. Why? Because if you particular item, if you are ignored in the financial statements, it may impact the decision of the users of the financial statement. For example, penalties is there. Penalties amount how much, sir? Penalties amount was 1 lakh. Consider it, all of you. Penalties amount was 1 lakh. You ignored this item as a penalty. You clubbed these penalties into other expenses. So the total other expenses you showed 10 lakhs. In that other expenses, one of the expenditure was penalty. There are so many other expenses are there. Other ancillary expenses are there. Just you clubbed penalty into other expenses. If you ignore penalty as a separate line item in the financials, then the decision of the decision maker may change. Yes, if you are not putting penalty as a separate line item, if you are just clubbing into the other expenses, then he thought that, okay, organization is doing good. There are no penalties exist against organization. But if you made a separate line item as a penalties, then the other party presume that, then the user of the financial statement presume that organization made some mistake. It acted against the interest of some other parties. That's why the other parties filed a suit on the company or the entity. Then it paid the damages or the penalties. Am I right? It is related to the, not related to the size of the transaction, it related to the importance of the line item. So even though the size of the amount 1 lakh, it is not that much of bigger for a turnover, for a company who is having a turnover in crores or millions, it may not be a bigger turnover. It may not be a bigger turnover, but it should be separately disclosed. It should be separately disclosed as a line item as per which concept, sir, and a materiality concept. So that means materiality tells to us what is important, what is not important. If an item is important, when such item is important, if it is ignored, the ultimate decision of the decision maker will change, then you can treat it as a material item, which is an important item. So all such material items should be separately disclosed in the financial statement. It should not be clubbed into the other items. Such materiality concept is a subjective concept, which is material, which is immaterial. Who will decide, sir? Management will decide based upon the circumstances of each case. So simply I'm telling materiality concept is also considered at the time of drafting the financials. So now we discussed so many issues, that is business entity assumption. Business is different, owner is different. Any transaction happened in between business and owner, it should also be considered. Sir, any transaction related to pure owner personal transaction, it should not be clubbed into the business books. Monetary unit assumption or money measurement concept is nothing but those items which can be expressed in terms of money only can be recorded into books of accounts. That's why employees are not considered as an asset into the books of accounts. Going concern assumption is nothing but, in generally, before going concern, I discussed the periodicity concept. The entire lifespan of the organization will be divided into different periods, which is nothing but periodicity concept. For each and every period, we are preparing the financial separately. Now coming to the going concern assumption, at the end of a particular period, that is a financial year, in generally our entity is presuming that our business activities will be continue into the near future, then we are telling that going concern assumption is appropriate. But if the entity have an idea that it want to close the books of accounts in the near future, then going concern assumption is inappropriate. Then financial should be prepared on realizable value basis, not based on historical cost basis. So that's why while drafting the financials, that assumption is also plays crucial role for the purpose of accounting treatment. Consistency concept is nothing but the accounting policies or principles followed consistently from time to time. In generally, you should not change such accounting policies unless some certain exceptional situations. Those exceptional situations we are going to discuss in the future chapters. Accrual concept. Accrual concept is nothing but a transaction or event related to expenditure or income is going to record into the books of accounts when it is occurred or when it is accrued. Am I right? So on the basis of accrual concept, we learned outstanding expense, prepaid expense, income receivable, income received in advance, along with journal entries. Historical cost concept we already saw. In generally, the fixed assets are recorded in the books of accounts, the value at which they are acquired, provided depreciation and revaluation mechanisms. Coming to matching concept is nothing but all the expenses which caused to generate the revenue should be recorded in the same accounting period. That's why you should match the relevant expenses with the relevant incomes. Conservatism principle is nothing but you should be a little bit cautious at the time of recording the losses. If any probable future losses are going to occur in the near future, you can record right now in the books of accounts, but such concept is not applicable to gains. Gains should be recorded whenever it is there, when it is occurred. Coming to the materiality, materiality is a subjective concept. All the material items you should be recorded into the books of accounts. You should not omitted any material items. Why? Because the material items are nothing but those items which can influence the decision of the decision maker, which are highly useful or which plays a crucial role to take at the time of taking the decisions. That's why all material items should be considered at the time of drafting financials. Which item is material, which item is immaterial? It is the subjective concept. So a lot of judgment should be involved. All such things will be done by the management at the time of drafting the financials or accounting. Financials are at the time of drafting accounting, whatever the case may be, guys. Then accrual concept is over. Fine. Then coming to here, what is the difference between accrued and due, accrued and due, accrued but not due, accrued and due, accrued but not due? If you observe two words, accrued and due, accrued but not due, one word is common, which was accrued. Let me explain here. Just a moment. So now I'm explaining the next concept. I'm out of the gap. We completed the gap, guys. Now we are at the application of the gap, actually, where accrued concept we learned, right? There, a small clarification here. What is the difference between accrued and due? Accrued but not due. Accrued but not due. Consider it, guys. Sir, for accrued and due, till now I not gave any example, but accrued but not due, I already gave an example. I not mentioned which was accrued but not due, but already gave an example, which is salary. Sir, salary as on 31st March, which was accrued, already occurred, but the due date is 10th of the next month, 10th of next month, 10th of following month. Sir, the due date was different, accrued date was different. So as on 31st March, what we said, as on 31st March, we said that salary was accrued, but not due, When it will be due? 10th of the next month. As on 31st March, such a salary is said to be accrued but not due. Did you understand the meaning of accrued but not due? Coming to accrued and due, please consider it, guys, all of you. What is the meaning of accrued and due? I will tell you. Let us assume electricity expenses. Just I'm telling electricity expenses. I'll give the practical example. Electricity is not fit for that practical example. I'll give the practical example itself. What it is, let us talk about commission itself. Let us talk about commission. I'm telling, I took the same concept. I'm continuing the same thing. That is sales commission, right? Sales agent commission. Now, as on 31st March, the sales agent commission should be payable on the total sales generated by him, up to 31st March. Now the due date is 31st March. The accrued date also 31st March. As on 31st March, which was accrued, already sales were occurred. So that's why sales agent commission was also occurred. And the due date is also 31st March. Now, as on 31st March, the sales commission is treated as accrued as well as due, which was accrued and due. Sir, whether it was accrued and due, whether it was accrued but not due, I don't mind. In both the sentences or in both the words, one word is common, which was accrued. If it is accrued, I should record into the books of accounts as per the accrual concept. Whether it is due date is completely irrelevant. Whether it was due or not, it is completely irrelevant for me. The only relevant part is whether it is accrued or not. Hope you understand. Even though the real transaction was not due as on 31st March, it can be taken into consideration if it is accrued. Accrued and due means anyway it was due as well as accrued as well. So the relevant point is here accrued, but not the due date. So for that purpose only I included what is the difference between accrued and due and accrued but not due, guys. Hope you got the point. Very few items are there. Let me close the discussion for the fundamentals in this video lecture. Please, all of you, to keep the lecture concentratedly, guys. So only 2 topics are there. So with the completion of these 2 topics, we can complete this fundamentals topic. So please concentrate. The next important item was meaning of adjustments given below trial balance. Oh my God. So just a second, please, all of you, please watch this. So he is talking about meaning of adjustments below trial balance. Meaning of adjustments below trial balance. 1 second. Yeah. Consider, guys, which is very, very important. Again, I am telling you, which plays a crucial role at the time of drafting solutions to the problems. Okay. Right. Concentrate. Sir, why this is very important? So many students just they thought that what is the they don't know that what is the meaning of adjustment, why something was given below the trial balance, why something was given in the trial balance, what is the difference, what is the real practice, how it happens. I'm telling this particular item practically. Please concentrate, guys, this is very, very important. So I told you before starting the lectures itself, in the meaning of accounting there are two terms, that transaction and event. Transaction and events, right? Sir, transaction is nothing but which was occurred in between the organization and an outside party. Event is nothing but as a result of the transaction. Am I right? Transaction is a cause, event is a effect, right? Now I recorded purchases in the books of accounts. Consider all of you, the total purchases I can tell. So the total purchases how much, sir? 10 lakh. Okay, the total purchases how much, sir? 10 lakh. Sir, purchases, how many number of units, sir? The number of units were, let us put 1 lakh number of units I purchased. The purchase price was 10 rupees. 1 lakh into 10, 10 lakhs. Sir, sales how much, sir? Sales, out of 1 lakh unit, I sold out, let us assume 60,000 units. Or I can put 80,000 units. I sold out at the rate of 15 rupees. Now 80,000 into 15, how much? Which is equal to 12 lakhs, right? Now closing stock, sir, closing stock how much, sir? Closing stock, out of 1 lakh, if you sold out 80,000, remaining was 20,000. Then the cost price 10 rupees, cost or NRV, whichever is lower, right? NRV 15, cost 10. So 20,000 into 10, cost was 2 lakhs. Sir, when you can derive the closing stock? My question is, when you can derive the closing stock, sir? And after recording purchases and sales at the end of the year, only you can derive the closing stock. Will you agree? After recording the purchases and sales, after completion of the purchases and sales, at the end of the year only you can derive your closing stock was 20,000 units, which was multiplied with cost, which is 2 lakhs, which is an event. Will you agree, all of you? Now, is this event was recorded before the trial balance itself? Is it possible before preparation of the trial balance? Can you record that event? In generally, practically speaking, it is not possible. Why? Because after preparation of the trial balance, what are your total purchases? What are your total number of sales units? Then only finally you can derive the closing stock. Let us assume I already prepared the trial balance before deriving the closing stock. Before deriving the closing stock, if I already prepared the trial balance, then such a closing stock should be taken into the books of accounts as an adjustment. As an adjustment. Why? Because my trial balance was already prepared based on the purchases and sales transaction. But just right now only I derived the closing stock. That's why I want to take closing stock. That's why I want to consider the closing stock into books of accounts right now. So that's why if you observe so many times, the closing stock will be arrived as a are given in the problems as a adjustments only. I can tell you the number of examples. Depreciation. Sir, depreciation, so many times you can get it as an adjustment, right? Why? Because depreciation is not a transaction entered with the outside party. After completion of all your business transactions, you prepared your trial balance, but now you want to make a depreciation on your own. Now you want to make a depreciation on your own. That's why after preparation of trial balance, also you can adjust the depreciation. Yes, it is possible. Now my question is, what is the meaning of adjustment? Adjustment is nothing but, consider guys, which is very, very important. Adjustment is nothing but which was not considered till now, which was not considered which was not considered in books of accounts till now. That is nothing but adjustment. Then what is the accounting treatment? Till now not considered. Now you can consider it. Now you can consider it. Sir, how I can consider, sir? Consider it, all of you. If it is the closing stock, if you want to consider now into the books of accounts, how I will consider here? Just I am showing how I will consider. Sir, closing stock is an asset, right? Closing stock is an asset. No doubt about it. In books of accounts, which is an asset, sir, if an asset value is increased, it should be debited or credited. An asset value is increased, it should be debited or credited. Debited. I will debit the closing stock. Sir, accounting equation is mother of the accounting, guys. So that's why only I adopted the magic of passing the journal entries. For the magic of passing the journal entries, I only used the accounting equation approach. Sir, increase in asset should be debited. That's why closing stock should be debited. Closing stock account debtor. Sir, what is the other impact? As per the dual aspect concept, two aspects there na. What is the other aspect, sir? Sir, which was an asset till now not recorded. Right now you are recording such particular asset. Due to recording of that asset, your profit should also be increased. You should make credit the profit and loss account. I already told you there is no difference between trading account and P&L account. Might be here trading account in your language, that is closing stock account debtor to trading account. So that's why in the trading account, you may put closing stock under credit side. That is different story. Am I right? So the original journal entry was closing stock account debtor to profit and loss account. So in our accounting equation approach, increase in asset should be debited. It was, I can treat it as an unrecorded asset. I can treat it as an unrecorded asset. Unrecorded asset. Right now you are going to record an unrecorded asset. At the time of recording any unrecorded asset, asset to P&L is the entry, or asset to P&L adjustment is the entry. Whatever the case may be, how to increase the asset, how to increase the P&L. So if I can put it as a trading, let us assume if I can put it as a trading, if I drop the trading account in the ledger, where I can put here closing stock, I can put here. That's why under trading account, closing stock is shown under credit side. Will you agree that there is another reason is also exist? Why? Because in trading account, if I record purchases under debit side, purchases under debit side, how many number of units? 1 lakh units. I'm only talking about units. I'm not talking about quantum of the amount. So sales will be there under credit side. How many number of unit sales? 80,000. So you compared 1 lakh with 80. That's wrong. You have to incorporate the closing stock also. Then only matching will be there. So 1 lakh 80, you have to record another 20,000 units also by recording the closing stock. That's why you have to record the closing stock into the books of accounts. Then only you will get the real profit. If you are not recognizing the closing stock, how you can get the correct gross profit? Can you please tell me why you are recording the closing stock? To match the purchase units and sales unit with the remaining number of units to derive the correct profit and loss account. You will only record the closing stock. So the entry was closing stock account at to P&L account or trading account, whatever the case may be. Am I right? Sir, depreciation also given as adjustment, sir. Depreciation also given as adjustment. Consider it. Depreciation also given as adjustment, sir. Then what is the journal entry I have to pass? Then what is the journal entry I have to pass? Please concentrate. 1 second. Sir, if depreciation also given as an adjustment, what is the journal entry, sir? Sir, journal entry means till now you are not decreasing the value of the asset. Now you can decrease the value of the asset. That is nothing but depreciation account debtor to that particular asset account. That means in the trial balance, the asset balance was shown before providing the depreciation. That point you have to appreciate. Till now not provided the depreciation means in the trial balance, the asset balance was shown at before providing the depreciation, before providing current year depreciation. I'm not talking about previous year's depreciation. Before providing the current year depreciation, only that asset was showing as a balance in the trial balance. That is the meaning. If you understand the meaning of the adjustment really, then you can easily understand what accounting treatment you have to made it. Okay, so let me check. with the material. I'll discuss some more part after reading the content in the material. Meaning of adjustments given below trial balance. If any item which is given below trial balance means which is not accounted so far. I already told you which is not accounted so far. That means such item impact should consider now into books of accounts. That is very, very important. That means such item impact should consider now into books of accounts. The same story I already discussed. Point number A, closing stock given below trial balance for rupees 1 lakh. This means so far closing stock not recorded into books of accounts. Now you can pass adjustment entry as closing stock account debit and trading account as credit, trading or P&L account, whatever the case may be. Okay. Now one more thing just I'm going to discuss before discussing point number B. Please concentrate. Sir, till now I told that, sir, if closing stock given as an adjustment, then what is the journal entry you showed? I already discussed, right? 1 second. Just a moment, guys. OneNote is not responding. Yeah, it's responding right now. So if closing stock given as an adjustment, what is the accounting treatment we saw? Let us assume if the closing stock was not given as an adjustment, that is given in the trial balance itself, closing stock was given in the trial balance. Given in trial balance. Sir, closing stock was given in the trial balance means it was already considered, man. Before preparation of the financials, at the time of preparation of the trial balance itself, it was already considered. That means P&L was not yet completed. P&L was not yet started. But before trading and P&L itself, you already consider the closing stock into the books of account means what happened really? What happened means, please concentrate. I purchased 1 lakh. I made sales 80,000 units, right? What about remaining 20,000? Remaining 20,000 will be there under purchases. Still adjusting accounting wise means remaining 20,000 under which accounts are under purchases account. Now you are going to record the closing stock in the books of accounts means you have to reduce the purchases, you have to increase the closing stock. That means increase in asset should be debited. That is the entry is closing stock account debtor, which was 2 lakhs, to purchases, which was 2 lakhs. Now, can you please tell me, all of you, at that point of time, purchases will show at which value in the trial balance? In trial balance, at that point of time, purchases will show at 8 lakhs. Will you agree, all of you? Sir, if the closing stock given in the adjustment, then purchases will show at 10 lakhs. Then closing stock separately adjusted by debiting the closing stock and creating P&L or trading with 2 lakhs. Will you agree? But if the closing stock was already given in the trial balance means still we not yet started the financials, that is P&L or the trading account, then closing stock would be adjusted with the purchases. Then the purchases will be set to be adjusted purchases, which is very, very important. Adjusted purchases means after reduction of closing stock, the purchases given in the trial balance are nothing but after adjusted with purchases. That points makes difference. The person who knows the real accounting, those points makes difference, guys. Don't by heart anything, just conceptually think, sir, if closing stock was already given in the trial balance means the purchases are not the gross purchases. Already from the purchases, closing stock amount was reduced. So that's why the purchases were adjusted purchases. That's it, guys. So the simply I can differentiate one thing. If a particular item given in the adjustment means which was not accounted till so far, you have to consider right now. If a particular item which was already given in trial balance means which was already accounted at the time of preparation of the trial balance itself. Okay, so now you can read point number B. Closing stock given in the trial balance for 1 lakh. This means closing stock was previously considered in books of accounts by making closing stock debit and purchases credit. Now purchases mentioned in the trial balance was after reduction with closing stock, which was treated as adjusted purchases. which was treated as adjusted purchases. Am I right, guys? Next. So the last concept, the last one, but not the least, please concentrate. I can complete very quickly. Difference between reserve and provision. I think so. Last but one more is there. Okay. Difference between reserve and provision, which is important, guys. Sir, what is the meaning of reserve? What is the meaning of provision? What is the difference? First, let me read the meaning from the material itself. The portion of the profit kept aside for unforeseen obligations. Unforeseen obligation means, sir, future is uncertain, sir. Nobody knows what will happen. Corona time, nobody know what will happen. If business was not there, then how can we will give salaries to the people? How can we sustain in the future? That's why future is uncertain. For certain future obligations, what are those obligations, sir? I don't know. Unforeseen obligations, those are unforeseen event. So certain portion of the profit kept aside for unforeseen future obligations, then that portion of the profit is treated as reserve. Provision is portion of money from the business. It is not portion of money from the profit. Very, very important. Which is portion of profit, which is not portion of profit, which is portion of money from the business. That means whether you derived profit or loss, I don't mind. Sir, even though I incurred loss, sir, still you have to create. Why? Because provision is not a portion of profit, which is a portion of money from the business set aside for meeting known liabilities, which are known. Earlier I told provision for bad debt, provision for warranty expenses, which are known liabilities in the future. So the main difference between the reserve and the provision is, sir, reserve is unforeseen obligations, provision is known liabilities. Reserve is from portion of the profit, provision is from whether you derived the profit or loss, anything. That's why charge or appropriation means reserve is appropriation of profits. Appropriation means if profits are available, then we can create a reserve. Provision means charge against. Against means whether you derived profit or loss, I don't mind, which is against to profit. Whether you derived profit or loss, I don't mind, I can create a provision. Dividend payment, sir, for a dividend payment, we never use provision. Why? Because provision have a certain obligation for a known liabilities. Reserve can be useful. Why? Because why you created a reserve means some unforeseen obligation. If obligation is there, if any unforeseen obligation is there, then I can use, or otherwise I can use it for dividend payment as well. Okay. Presentation in financials, show in reserves and surplus under the shareholders fund. So he is talking about a company point of view. In the general point of view, we will show it after the capital of the proprietor under reserves and surplus. Coming to the company, or coming to the sole proprietor partnership firm, it will be shown after the partner's capital or the sole proprietor's capital. But coming to the company, it should be shown in reserves and surplus under shareholders fund after share capital. Under shareholders fund, first we will show share capital, after that reserves and surplus. Sir, provision either reduction from asset or shown under liability. Provision is a liability which should be debited in P&L as well as showing as a liability. The journal entry for provision is profit and loss account debtor to provision, which is an unrecorded liability. Now you are going to record. P&L should be debited to provision. Unrecorded asset to P&L, how you recorded? Like that unrecorded liability P&L to provision, which is a liability. You can show it as a liability or you can reduce it from the asset. For example, if it is PBD, provision for bad debts is there, you are reducing from debtors rather than showing under separate liability. So any policy you can follow that is based upon the practice. So certain provisions you can reduce from the assets, or certain provisions you can show it as a liability. So that is the difference between reserve and provision, guys, which is important. And the last but not the least, some important difference between various types of entities. I'll quickly close. So just for informative only, I drafted here. Sir, sole proprietorship, only one person will be there. Partnership, group of persons will be there, sharing profits and losses among according to the profit sharing ratio. HUF, Hindu undivided family. Hindu undivided family is nothing but family business. Family business. All family businesses are coming, sir, which have a legal form as well. HUF Act is there, separate act is there. You can conduct the family business as well. Okay. cooperative society. Cooperative society is also a separate entity which should be registered under a Societies Act. Societies Act, Cooperative Societies Act is there. Okay. Joint stock company is nothing but company. Joint stock means, why they are using the word joint stock? Stock means shares. Those shares are among different the shareholders, right? So that's why it was put as a term joint stock company. Now, registration, sir, sole proprietorship registration not required, guys. Yes. Formation, no legal formalities. Anybody can start their business on their own with the own name as well. Okay. Members, only owner, that is only one member will be there. Okay. Capital limited, only he can contribute. Liability unlimited. Unlimited means, sir, if you conduct the business with his personal name, if the business assets are not sufficient to repay the business liabilities, then the liability holders can ask money from the personal assets of the sole proprietors as well. That is nothing but unlimited liability. Personal assets also you should sell, you should pay the liabilities of the business. Management, owner is the only management. Continuity unstable. Why he used the word unstable? If proprietor died, then the business come to an end. Am I right? Next, coming to partnership firm, sir, registration optional. It's not mandatory, but for the safe side, practically speaking, all the partnership firms are going to the registration. Why? Because even the oral agreement is also valid in case of partnership, but in the present scenario, in the present society, nobody will withstand on their own words. So that's why practically registration only feasible. But if you don't want to go for the registration, also nobody will don't care. Okay, coming to the formation, less legal formalities, not that much of company, not that much of use legal formalities while compared with the company. So partnership, less legal formalities, minimum 2, maximum 100. Okay, next, comparatively more than sole proprietorship. Capital fund. Why? Because in case of partnership firm, more than one partner will be, more than one person will be contributed the capital. Liability again unlimited. I can put like this, jointly and severally. So liability was jointly and severally. You know the meaning of jointly and severally? So jointly and severally means, if one partner is unable to contribute the money, then the partnership liabilities can be contributed. Then partnership liabilities can be compensated from the other partner as well. So jointly and severally. Sir, how they are liable? Jointly. But if any partner unable to make payment, then we can ask money from the other partner as well. Okay, management, partners, continuity. Again, he is using the word unstable. If all partners died, there is no continuity. Okay, next, further coming to HEF, registration is not required, guys. Less legal formalities, minimum 2 members, unlimited. That is depending upon the family size. Okay, in generally, how the Hindu undivided family business will be conducted. Ancestral properties. Ancestral properties means that is grandfather, dad. From there, the properties are continuing. So based upon that particular property, they don't want to share to each and every person. They want to conduct the business activities with such properties. That is nothing but ancestral property is a capital. They not contributed the further capital. If they want, they can contribute as well. In general, with the ancestral properties are nothing but capital. Sir, liability, they are unlimited for karta, limited for other members. Who is this karta? Actually, HEF will be there. In HEF, we are not providing any accounting. Basically, practically, very few HEFs are there in India right now. In the olden days, more HEFs are there. Nobody is want to do conducting the business jointly right now. Why? Because there are so many emotions and all are causes for discontinuity of the business in case of HEF. So HEF will come in case of taxation point of view. Just I will tell you a small discussion on the HEF for knowing what exactly the meaning of HEF. Please concentrate. HEF, how it will works. HEF, oh, 1 second, sorry guys. Once again. Right. HEF, how it will works, just I'm telling you. In HEF, one person, in generally the old person or the elder person, not elder person, yes, elder person, in generally elder person or the old person can be named as karta. Karta. So all the legal formalities, the signing authority, and check issuing power with be karta. He should only obey, he should only follow all the rules and regulations, and all the members should be managed by karta. Remaining all are known as members of HUF. Members of HUF. So I don't want to go for in detail discussion, waste of our time. Nothing will come in our financial accounting. So just he is telling about the liability for Karta, which was unlimited liability, for other members, which is a limited liability. He is telling, sir, if he have powers, he should have obligations as well. Okay. Management, Karta, I already told you. Continuity, stable. Why he is telling stable? That is related to Hindu undivided family. In case of HUF, they can put their legal representatives. Even all the HUF members will die, then their legal representatives will be continued their business activities. Okay, that is legal heirs, not legal representative, legal heirs. Okay, then coming to the cooperative society, registration should be compulsory. I already told you as per the Cooperative Societies Act. Formation, so little bit legal formalities are there. Members, minimum to maximum unlimited. Okay, so many cooperative societies are there, guys. In general, educational institutions and hospitals, all are in generally established through societies only. Certain banks are also established in the form of cooperative society. Certain charitable activities, organizations are also established in the cooperative societies. Okay, all these are corporate. In general, service activities, most of the time service activities are established in the form of cooperative societies. So capital was limited, liability also limited liability. Okay, the member liability is talking about member liability is limited. Management, managing committee will be there. One managing committee, in that committee every person will be there, chairman will be there, that is secretary, treasurer, every person, such managing committee will be there. So in audit, cooperative society will come in audit. That audit faculty in group 2, he will give insights about cooperative society much more while compared with me. Continuity will be stable. Okay, coming to joint stock company, our entire accounting discussion most of the time will run over with this. So compulsory, it should be registered as per the Companies Act 2013. Great legal formalities are there, which are bread and butter of our chartered accountancy profession. We are always providing our services to the companies. So legal formalities. The major regulator was MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Already most of the time I already used the word. Minimum private 2, public 7. Okay, maximum private 50 and a public company no limit. So large financial resources are there. Why? Because more shareholders, more resources. Liability was limited, which is the great privilege of the shareholder. In detail discussion will be there in the Companies Act. Limited liability, one of the great future of the company. Next, coming to management, always board of directors. Okay, not the shareholders. Who will manage the company, sir? Who will run the company, sir? Board of directors. Those are professionals. Continuity, stable. That is the basic differences in between sole proprietorship, partnership, HUF, and cooperative society and joint stock company. So almost all important basics was taught by me. Sir, the basics are never-ending process. There are so many issues we can able to discuss, but due to time constraint, I am unable to put all such things under the same lecture. If at all anything, if I missed out in the proper chapter in the respective concept, again I will discuss. Sir, basics are very much important. Don't skip the basics chapter before watching the main lectures. Please, all of you complete the basic lectures, then only you can go to the main lectures. We'll meet with the main chapter in the next video lecture. Until bye, guys. Have a nice day.